This is snowy Lambeau Field, the home of the Green Bay Packers, as today the Packers with a 2-8 record play host to the Minnesota Vikings, who come in here with a 6-4 record. Hi, everybody. I'm Gary Bender, and alongside me, a man who's in Pro Football's Hall of Fame, number 19, Johnny Unitas. And, John, the Minnesota Vikings can ill afford to stumble today.
With a 6-4 record, and Chicago, of course, was 6-5. Minnesota so far a half a game ahead. If they lose this one, it'll be all tied up, Gary.
Well, I tell you, both these teams coming in here with new faces at quarterback. 2 weeks ago, Tarkenton and Dickey went out with broken legs. So we have David Whitehurst and Bob Lee with the starting calls.
Two brand new ones, and everyone watched David Whitehurst play an outstanding ball game against the Washington Redskins. But Bobby Lee has yet to throw his first pass against the Green Bay Packers.
I don't know, John, how quarterbacks like this weather today, but we're going to have about 6 inches of snow before the afternoon is over. The temperature at kickoff time, 26 degrees, as the Minnesota Vikings have had it pretty much their way. They've won 5 in a row. Let's go to the field now as we're ready to go. A kickoff just about ready to take place. Kicking off will be the Minnesota Vikings. They'll be kicking off from left to right as you see Fred Cox, number 14. Cox, who announced that he'll be retiring after the 1977 season. Back deep is Steve Odom for the Packers, and he's standing on a goal line you can barely see. As you can see, they have the heat coils on here. It is melting some of the snow, but it's starting to snow just a little bit harder as we approach this kickoff time. These two teams have been in many snow affairs. Many people recall 1966 when the Packers and Browns in a title game, very similar weather conditions. It's short, and Eric Torkelson's got it for the Packers, and he brings it back out. Let's make that Steve Wagner, and Wagner is dumped in a hurry by the white shirt Minnesota Vikings. So as we spot the ball for you, and that is going to be a problem throughout the course of the day, the ball is going to be close to the 40-yard line. The Packers will have Whitehurst at quarterback. The running back's going to be Will Harrell. He's starting in place of Nate Simpson, who pulled that hamstring Monday night, and also Barty Smith. The ball marked on the 37-yard line. Here's Barty Smith, and Smith gets some running room. Jeff Wright, number 23, over to make the stop. Barty Smith, who now has set a personal rushing high for him in a season. He needed only 2 yards coming into this game, picking up some pretty good yardage.
Let's watch it, Gary, as Barty Smith takes a handoff, moves back to the outside, some good blocking up front. Jeff Wright, number 23, in on a tackle. If he could have got by Jeff Wright, he picked up another 10, 15 yards.
A gain of 5 on the play. It'll be 2nd and 5. And, boy, the conditions are going to be difficult today. The footing, for example. Whitehurst gives off to Barty Smith. There's a flag on the play as Barty Smith may have gotten a yard, and that's all. Interesting enough, John, both these teams have had a tough time stopping the rushing gains.
It certainly has. As last week we saw that the Peyton ran 275 yards against the Minnesota Vikings. The Vikings giving up 383 yards total offense against the Chicago Bears last week as the Chicago Bears defeated them. And both teams have been able to run the football. Most teams have been able to run the football at Minnesota and Green Bay as well.
Don Wedge, our referee now, going over to the far side to spot this particular penalty that's coming up. This telecast is presented by an authority of the National Football League. It is intended for the private use of our audience. Any rebroadcast or other use of this telecast without the express written consent of the Green Bay Packers and the National Football League is prohibited.
Offsides, defense, number 75. It's 3rd down.
Offside against the Minnesota Vikings. So it's going to bring up 2nd down and about a yard to go as we spot it from the far side of the field. They're less than a yard to go. Odom and also Ollie Smith flanked to the bottom of the screen. Whitehurst giving off to Will Harrell. He's in trouble, and Harrell is not going to get that first down. In fact, he lost a yard. Carl Eller, number 81.
What?
Boy, Eller this year has been playing well. He has 10 sacks coming into this game. 35 years old. He just
it's just me. I'm just watching the Vikings offense.
2 for the Packers.
Jesus.
I tell you, John, when
Can you guys hear me?
like
Yeah,
this,
can hear you loud and clear.
Yep.
Can you hear me?
the first pass has got to be tough.
Is the announcer saying
right?
Farty
And
Smith?
And another
it's over.
interception. It's all. It's over.
This kind of weather, Gary.
Oh, they just called.
Fairly windy
They threw a
out there.
flag though.
And it's also difficult.
Do we got the ball? I can't even watch the ending.
Receivers to hold on if you really zip
Yeah.
the ball to him.
Andre Thompson has come in.
Well, you guys can narrate for me on the way out.
3rd and 2. Whitehurst with his first pass of the
8
game.
seconds.
And Barty Smith, the intended receiver.
We're on time today, boy.
Out there. Carl Eller made
Yep.
2 fine defensive plays back-to-back in the pack.
Hey, folks, welcome. We've got, just a few seconds left. It looks like the Vikings, they're going to be around midfield. They've got 27 seconds, no timeouts.
Nope, they got a timeout left.
One timeout left.
Go ahead, narrate it. Come on,
And
Ted.
incomplete pass. The Vikings just got a pass interference that got them to midfield on 4th down. It looked like it was the end of the game. It was an interception. We're down to 22 seconds, 2nd and 10. However this game turns out, welcome to Vikings Report Rewind. You've got your usual crew. I'm Ted Glover, your humble and fairly face for radio host. With me, I've got my usual suspects, Drew Bunting and our very own Kaiser Sose, Chris Gates. Chris, where are you?
I'm here watching the Vikes. Before we get going here, I just want to say thanks for all the birthday shout outs from last week. I appreciate it. Kirk Cousins just tried to throw one to Arden Hills and was unsuccessful. And,
What down is it?
yeah,
What down is it?
It's 3rd and 10, 17 seconds from midfield.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not looking good for the good guys.
This offensive performance has been just awful.
So we're gonna do it like if for some reason the Vikings score a touchdown. First of all, we're all gonna go nuts, and then we're gonna live stream the entire overtime right here on Vikings Report Rewind. Drew, are you gonna need to go to another room to watch the game?
No, you guys are going to narrate it for it. Hey, if they score here, the karma's good. I'm staying here for the next week.
There you go. That is sports science 101, brother. Well done.
We're just gonna live stream Drew's computer room for the next 7 days.
You know, there might be more than 17 seconds left. We were running it up the middle and tuddling with 3 minutes left. Maybe you guys can explain that to me in a while.
Well, yeah, 3rd and 10, 17 seconds left. Are we gonna wait to discuss this game until the game is officially over? Or do you want to start it now?
No,
Because I mean, the narrative could completely change based on what happens in the next 17 seconds.
Let's wait it out.
All right, we're gonna wait it out here.
Let's say hi to anybody who's here with us already. Is there anybody here with us?
Mike Zimmer grabbing his throat like he's choking. Very appropriate move for him at this point with 17 seconds left to go.
What are they doing?
In the huddle. Vikings
here
break
they
the
go.
huddle, 3rd and 10, 17 seconds.
It's a real barn burner here today. Got a real barn burner here
on the Vikings. The Vikings gridiron. Our Graders are playing a tough game, but it looks like they're going to get it out of Cleveland Browns. Kirk takes the snap.
Oh,
Throws deep. Oh, it's caught by Thielen.
at the 31. And
11 seconds left. Their last time out.
Vikings
They got one time
Vikings
out
just burned their last time out.
They didn't burn their timeouts when the Browns had it the previous possession. That's kind of
No, they didn't. No, they didn't have to because the Browns decided to throw the ball and they threw incomplete passes.
So it would be over right now if it wasn't for that.
Yeah, they ran it on 1st and 2nd down, and the Vikings burned timeouts, and then they threw it on 3rd down. And it was incomplete, so that's why they still had the.
So 2 shots at the end zone right here, Chris Gates.
Certainly looks like it to me, unless
is there enough time for 2? Is there enough time for 2?
Unless the protection does what it's done all afternoon and just completely falls apart. So, yeah.
The Vikings can't take a sack here. If they take a sack, the ball game's got to be over.
Is anybody watching with us? Anybody say hello to the fans? Is there one person in here beside us?
We got Mary Fisk, Freebird, and Ruby is online. Hi, Ruby. How are you?
Mary. Hey, Mary.
Welcome back, Mary. Here we go.
Oh, that ball went into the sideline, incomplete.
8 seconds left. Second.
You know what? Mary called the miracle a few years back. She called that play to happen. So if we need anybody in the room right now, it's probably her. You're probably the best luck. Probably the best luck
we need an old priest and a young priest.
It's now 2nd and 10. 8 seconds left
from the 31.
That's only time for one play. 2 plays into the end zone.
I think
throw
they
it
got
to the
2
end
plays.
zone. You got to throw it in the end zone.
Yeah, they have to. Yeah, there's no timeouts. They throw it short.
Here's an idea. How about rolling the quarterback out away from the pressure? Or is that just too
why would you want to do that?
Into the sideline. They did check it down.
Dump it off. The Conklin, 3 seconds left down at the 15. So it'll be like 3rd and 2. Ball game. This is going to be the last play of the game coming up right here.
So first down doesn't matter.
3rd and 4 from the 26.
Well, it's one play, so the first down doesn't really matter.
Clowney's back. Clowney's back in after.
Dude, if they throw a 2-yard pass here, if they throw a 3-yard pass to the back, I'm going to be.
Well, Cook's not. Well, Cook is in there. No, can't tell if he is or not. No, he's not. Never mind. That's Osborne.
Narrate it. It's here, Ted. Give me the play-by-play.
Browns call timeout.
Give me your best Al Michaels on this one.
Here,
you know what game I'm talking about. You know what Al Michaels call I want you to have right here.
Let me do the Collinsworth slide.
Yeah.
Hey, everybody.
You get one of two choices on Al Michael calls. The 80 Olympics, or you get he did what? I want to hear he did what. Right here. He did what?
What was the he did what game? What was that one?
Packers and the Vikings when Freeman
comes out. Antonio Freeman catch.
Yep. Okay.
Those are your two choices. That or do you believe in miracles?
This is Al Michaels. The Browns were a 2-point favorite going into this one.
Oh man, this game just.
All right, here we go. 5 wide. 4 wide and Conklin, I guess. Yep.
Vikings in shotgun formation, 3rd and 4, 3 seconds left. 2 seconds. Do you believe in miracles? Here's the snap.
And no, it's incomplete or intercepted or something bad.
It's over.
All right.
I think I can't tell if it got picked or not, but yeah, the Browns only rushed 3, and Kirk Cousins still had to get the hell out of the way of.
Really? On a 3-man rush.
Yep.
Yeah. O'Neal just got smoked.
O-line got
all right. No flags. Welcome to Vikings Report Rewind. Game's over. Your fight Minnesota Vikings fall to 1-3 on the year. Again, with me, our usual suspects, Drew Bunning, Ruby, who makes the magic happen, the spine of the book, if you will, and Chris Gates, our very own Kaiser Sose. Welcome. Welcome. And the Vikings are now not in a good spot. Drew Bunning, why don't you kick things off for us, brother?
1-3. We are 1-3. No matter start the show to the end of the show, we're going to be 1-3 at the end. So another close loss. Is that how you want to, lose another close one? Lose another close one. Pretty soon you start winning these games. I don't know when that's going to happen, but Vikings certainly were. We talked about it in the Vikings report about playing a different team, but different animal today, Ted. They scored on their first drive, and then by my count had another 12 drives that they didn't score on after that. After the first drive they scored on. But yards were tough to come by. The calls, few peculiar calls in this one for me. But another close game. They didn't get done, and now they're 1-3.
Yeah, Chris, after that first drive, the Vikings scored on their first drive. The Browns went down. They got shut out of the end zone on their first drive, but they had a very long drive as well. It felt like when this game started, it was going to be over by like 2 p.m. Central Time. It was like moving fast, and both offenses were just going up and down the field. And then it just sort of settled into this punt-a-thon. I don't know. What are your thoughts, Chris?
No, it was bad. I mean, I thought things were going to start going the Vikings' way after they stopped that 4th down for Cleveland. Then they had the other 4th down stop that was negated, and we can talk about that later because that was trash. But the thing that I think we need to look at is just how brutal the Vikings offensive line looked today, because they had strung together a couple of solid games in a row, and this afternoon they just got lambasted in just about every possible way.
I want to ask you guys a question. You ever read the book Flowers for Algernon?
Yep.
Is that a Star Wars movie?
No. It's about this guy who's like mentally deficient. Like he's like really stupid. He has like serious mental deficiencies, and they give him the shot, and he becomes like really, really smart, like one of the most brilliant people in the world. But then the effect of the drug starts to wear off over a period of time, and he becomes stupid again. And this Minnesota Vikings line reminds me of Charlie from Flowers for Algernon, because they were horrible, and then they got really good for a couple games, and then after the first drive today, it's like the medication in Charlie started to wear off, and they became a dope again. I don't know. It just felt like that to me.
Lot different talent level too. Seahawks aren't any match compared to what the Browns are.
Yeah.
The Browns they're bringing it all day. I'm kind of surprised. Do the Vikings not have a 3-step passing game? I don't know why you continue to go with the 7-step stuff when you get your ass kicked. You gotta pick up the pace, maybe go no huddle, go three-step drop. They made a couple nice passes to Conklin, but again, the Vikings have too many critical mistakes. We're a broken record. We talk about it all the time. Mistake after mistake after mistake, and Browns are a good team, and we didn't get blown out, but we didn't win. That's all that matters.
Chris, I feel like we're 2 plays from being 4-0.
I mean, we probably are. I mean, but like Drew said, there were a few plays in this game. The one that sticks out, one of the ones that sticks out to me is toward the end of the first half, and the Browns are looking at 3rd and 20, and they decide they're going to run the Bob Schnelker Memorial give up draw play, and they wound up running for 33 yards, and they turned it into a field goal. I mean,
Chris,
what the hell do you do there?
Chris Gates, just like the Cardinals game at the end of the half when Rondale Moore ran 30 yards to set up a field goal. What is with the Vikings, their team, at the end of the first half? What is the problem there?
Go ahead, Chris. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
It's just part of, this is the 3rd out of their 4 games where they've given up points like at the 2-minute warning or after.
Oh.
I mean, they did it against Arizona. They did it against Cincinnati. They managed not to do it against Seattle, but Cleveland had 11 of their 14 points in the last 2 minutes of the first half today.
The continuing ineptitude of the Minnesota Vikings at the end of the first half is absolutely stupefying to me. They had a good 2-minute drive last week, but the normal pattern is an absolute collapse of offense and defense that results in them either not scoring and pissing away the chance to score right before halftime in the last possession, or giving up points as the half winds down. And then, as we saw, the Browns now fortunately, the Vikings defense kind of stepped up and the Browns didn't get anything coming out of the locker room. But I was fully expecting, after they just completely pissed down their leg at the end of the first half, for a kind of a snowball or avalanche to sort of open up the second half. Now, to the Vikings' credit, that didn't happen. But if you take away that just absolutely stupid timeout when you didn't, that Chris Webber, oh, hey, a little Michigan reference right there. You do that, you call a timeout when you don't have any, which, and for those of you that weren't familiar, because it took me a second to figure out what was going on, but the Browns scored a touchdown. They set up for the extra point. The Vikings didn't have any timeouts, and Sheldon Richardson called one. So the Browns were given the option of either re-kicking from the extra point spot or putting the ball at the 2 and either kicking or going for 2. And they said, well, let's put it at the 2. And then that moved it to half the distance, the goal line to the 1. The Browns went for 2, and they went into the locker room with an 8-7 lead after a very tightly contested first half. And you thought the Vikings are going to go in up 7-0, and they left a few plays on the field, but they had the lead. And then it just all went away at the end of the first half. Drew. I'm sorry. I talk too much. You guys talk. I'm sorry.
No, everything you say is the truth, and I'm just kind of letting sometimes you let the truth soak in, you let it soak in a little bit. First off, who's ever joining us today, I want to say thank you to the fans that are joining Vikings Report. Rewind, be kind, rewind. Thanks for being here. If you got any questions or comments, throw them out there. We'll try to get to them. I don't sift through them because I can't read that well. But in terms of this game, very, very, very frustrating. Everything you just mentioned, Ted, you knew the Browns were going to bring it. You knew the Browns are going to run the ball. The Browns, all the averages worked out that we talked on Vikings Report, our preview show. Browns had 179 yards rushing. That's what they averaged. Vikings had 65 yards rushing. That's what the Browns give up. So they fell right almost identical to where they need to be. The critical mistakes are killing me. Why they're killing me? They kill you, Ted. And let me tell you, you're having trouble passing the ball all day. You're having trouble with the pressure, incomplete passes. Kirk looks skittish. And then you finally get a 60-yard play and it gets called back. That's what dumb teams do. You finally get a play to turn the momentum, big gain, holding call. These critical penalties at critical times. And when I say critical, you might think all penalties are critical, but if a team's in 3rd and 30 and you jump off sides to make it 4th and 25, that's not a critical penalty. The critical penalties is when you're getting big passes called back. And again, crucial handful, Ted Glover. We talk about it every week. The people are probably a crucial handful of plays, came down to a crucial handful. Browns got it. The Browns certainly made their mistakes too. They did make their mistakes too. So you Vikings, you got to seize it. You can't implode like that.
Chris, I want to go back to that holding call that nullified a big Justin Jefferson game.
Ah, damn it.
It was not a bad call. I thought that Eric Kendrick's defensive holding call at the end of the first half was a bad call.
It was.
But I don't think that Conklin call was. My question to you is, were you surprised the Minnesota Vikings put Tyler Conklin one-on-one with Myles freaking Garrett on that play?
Should I be?
I don't know.
I mean, I didn't realize it until I saw the replay, and then the replay comes back, and we need a big gain here, so we're going to put a tight end against a guy who had 4.5 sacks last week.
Yeah.
I mean, and to that, I mean, I don't understand. I mean, if Conklin doesn't hold Garrett there's no chance Cousin gets that throw off anyway. So, I mean, it kind of comes out in the wash. But yeah, I don't understand that. I mean, got Christian Darrisaw, get healthy, get in shape, get up to speed as soon as you can, because we need a kind of guy that can actually hang in that situation. Not that he necessarily would be able to do it, but at this point, I got way more faith in him than I think I have in Rashad Hill.
Well, and that just kind of goes to another thing. Dakota Dozier was active today, and Wyatt Davis wasn't. God, there's just so many things that frustrate me about this football team, and who they activate on game day should be kind of down on the list. But it's just one of those things that go to the core of the Minnesota Vikings. I feel you've got questionable personnel decisions that lead to questionable in-game decisions that lead to, once again, the Vikings being outcoached. I mean, a player calling a timeout when you don't have any timeouts is something that you are taught. If you've played football, you are taught from like peewee football, man. And that just seems like poorly coached and poorly disciplined stuff. Am I wrong there?
No, you're not wrong.
No, you're not wrong.
It's aggravating, man.
There's no excuse for it. I mean, we were playing a much better team today than we played last week, but that's why you game plan. You try to work something different. I don't know. Cousins didn't have much time today, but it seemed overall the Vikings were just slothing through it. I mean, I don't know how much. They seemed like today they had more 3-and-outs, Ted, than they had all season in the other 3 games combined.
It felt like it, yeah.
You get the ball back, you run 3 play, you're running up the middle, and you got 3 minutes and 8 seconds left. Why are you running it in the middle? Not only running it, but you're huddling. And time's counting off, and I'm going, you haven't moved the ball all day, and you're moving the ball like you can score whenever you want. It's very, where's the urgency with 3 minutes left? There was some things that were a little surprising to me today.
I was kind of charting the drives here earlier, and I didn't see it to the end of the game because we logged on, but after they started off, they had a 14-play, 75-yard scoring drive to open the game, which I thought was one of the best drives I've seen in a while. That was just phenomenal play calling. They had the Browns off balance, and even when they got down on the goal line, they had that penalty, and then they ran Alexander Madison, I think it was, off tackle or off to the edge, and you had a 3rd and long on the goal line, and they still converted and scored a touchdown. I thought, hey, this seems pretty promising. And they went 3 plays, 1-yard punt, 7 yards, 34 yards downs. And I will say right there, I like Mike Zimmer's 4th down aggressiveness to go for it, not try and kick a 53-yard field goal. Do you guys
I don't
agree
like
with me
that.
there? You didn't like that? No,
because I feel like up 7-0 to go up 10-0 right there puts a whole different mindset in Stefanski and the Browns. I was 100% against going for it on that call. I'd have tried the field goal.
Chris, did you agree with that call or not?
Absolutely. I probably would, like Drew said, 10-0 is a 2-possession game. It's a completely different animal from that point. And I know we've gotten on Mike Zimmer a lot for not being aggressive enough, but that was a little too aggressive, I think.
Okay, here's why you guys are wrong.
All right.
No,
Jesus.
I absolutely, very valid points. I'm glad they went for it. Here's my thing with the Vikings and kickers, and we talk about home field advantage and home crowds and all that. If Greg Joseph had gone in there and missed what would have been a 52 or 53-yard field goal, you can sort of feel the angst in the crowd when a Vikings kicker misses. And I'm not saying it would have affected the Minnesota Vikings team as a whole, but I'm saying that angst, that, oh, here we go, may have kind of crept into the sideline. Maybe I'm goofy in that regard.
I got a counterpoint to why you're wrong.
Oh, go ahead. Please go ahead.
First off, let me say the defense held the Browns to 14 points, and they're the 7th-ranked offense in the league, one of the better offenses in the league. So Shout out to the defense. Why you're wrong there, Ted? Every game situations are always different. Whoever you're facing, you know that. We've all been watching. I mean, that kind of goes without saying. Now, if you're playing a shitty, wait, that's going to get booked, right?
It's fine. We're live.
If
Say
you're playing,
shit. I don't care.
If you're playing a team that's crappy and you're going to move the ball up and down the field at will, if you're going to do that all day, I am 100% going for it. Not in this game at that second against this defense. Yards are going to be hard to come by, which they were all game. Yards were tough to come by. The Vikings fell way below their average. They weren't playing a weak defense. In that situation, in this game versus this opponent, you got to kick it right there and get the field goal. Now, if you're, like I said, if you're going to score, run up and down the field and have just a bunch of yards and scoring opportunities, then go for it, because you know you're going to be. You follow me? That's kind of my take on it. You're playing the Browns, who have a stout defense, 3rd best in the NFL.
That's very good. That's a very good point, and I can absolutely see that point of view. I can see what you guys are saying there. Yes, very much so. I am so frustrated with Mike Zimmer historically, maybe that maybe my vision got cloudy there, but I've kind of been on Zimmer about going for it when you can't depend on a kicker. And I think if the Vikings had converted to their and now
your point's not dumb. Your point's good.
No, and now in my defense, nothing happened there. I don't think the Browns went down and scored on the ensuing drive. It turned out to be a wash. But I didn't mind the aggressiveness there, because had they converted it and gone down and maybe scored a touchdown or even kicked a chip shot field goal at the end, it would have been. Well, it doesn't matter what it would have been.
Well,
they're 2 plays for being 4-0. Whatever.
I do agree with the first on the opening drive, going for it on 4th down and making. I did agree with that call, because you gotta punch him in the face, keep the drive alive, try to get the 7-0 lead, which they did. It was perfect, good call, and I think that's why Stefanski got mad and he went for it on the first drive. I think that's what he did, because Zimmer stuck it in his face and Stefanski said, "I'm not going to back down." But
that's a great point. Yeah, I think he goaded Stefanski into that 4th down call. Absolutely, I do.
But on that field goal one, Ted, it wasn't 4th and 1. It wasn't 4th and 2. It was like 4th and 5 or something. You got to kick it. You got to kick it there. You got to get the 10-0 lead. And I know the kicker is probably going to miss anyway, and I'm going to end up looking like a schmuck. But I didn't agree with that, going for it on that. I didn't agree with it at all.
Yeah, that's very fair. So they lost the football on downs, and then they went punt, halftime, punt, pick, and then whatever happened at the end of the game. There was no points, so it was punt or interception. So, I mean, it was just a really bad offensive display, and I thought Dalvin Cook going out was a big point in the game for the Vikings, because I don't think they have the same offense with Dalvin Cook out as they do with Alexander Madison. Chris, do you agree with me, or did you not see much of a difference at all?
No, I mean, I totally agree. Dalvin Cook is one of the most dynamic players in the league, and I know they got by Seattle last week without him, but Drew said it a bunch of times. Seattle and Cleveland are on completely different levels as far as football teams in the NFL this year are concerned. So, I mean, obviously the offense is completely different without Dalvin Cook, and him not being able to go for a lot of the second half. I mean, he did magically reappear there at the end for a couple of handoffs for whatever reason, but yeah, that just completely changes things for an offense, I think.
So we've talked about the opening drive. We pretty much hit the highlights of the game. Yeah. I mean, the Browns win 14-7. We have a question from Twitter from Lydia, and she asks, and we've talked about the coaching, and I was, after 2 games, I was kind of coming around to the Vikings sort of these last 2 games kind of figuring out and playing better football. And then they lay this egg today. And she asks, do you think Mike Zimmer should be fired? Chris, do you think Mike Zimmer should be fired?
I mean, I don't know if you fire him in season like this or anything like that, because I mean, who do you replace him with at this point? I mean, you gonna put Clint Kubiak in that job? Probably not. You could promote someone like Andre Patterson or something like that, maybe. But I think that we're all frustrated with Mike Zimmer at this point. I mean, I want to like Mike Zimmer, but even I'm frustrated with him at this point. But I think you're at a point in the season where, I mean, if they were getting blown out, like if this was the Les Steckel season or something like that, then you could, contemplate cutting a guy loose. But I mean, these 3 losses, I mean, they've been close games, and I don't think you can justify firing the guy now. I think he winds up getting the entire season, but if this season goes the way it's kind of starting to look like it's going to go, him and Rick Spielman are probably going to be gone right after the start of January.
Drew, what are your thoughts on that question?
Pretty much right along the lines of the great Christopher Gates. Gates brings good knowledge to this show. I'm glad he's here.
We shall now, from now on, refer to him as Kaiser Sose.
Is that what it is?
It's Christopher Kaiser Sose Gates.
I agree with what he said. If you're losing these games by 40 and the players are standing around who don't care, the Steckel, like he had mentioned, the Steckel thing. But they've been in all these games that just – the Vikings have this gloom, and I'll use that word again, where they can't come through and they can't get the big plays when needed, and they make the crucial mistakes. And it's not just today; it's a pattern, guys. You guys, can you agree with me that it's been going on for a few seasons now?
100% agree.
Make these big mistakes that just make you lose the game, and you can't have that. You cannot have that. You're not going to fire him right now, though. No.
Here's a good comment I saw on Twitter earlier, and he's watching the show now. Kevin McMahon, he said this on Twitter, and he put it in the comments here. It's been nice knowing you, Zim. The party's over. Well, maybe not tomorrow, but at the end of the year, for sure. You can't start this, and this is the big takeaway for me. You can't start 1-3 with the defense you wanted. And I don't care what anybody says. All these new guys on defense are guys Mike Zimmer stood on the table for and said, I want to make this defense better. And he got them, and this is where they are.
That's a great take. I'm still no excuse. I'm on the no excuse tour. I don't listen to any kind of Zimmer excuses anymore. Not listening. That's none. A great take, by the way. Great job by who's that again?
Kevin McMahon.
Great job, Kevin McMahon. No relation to the great Eight McMahon, I doubt it. You are correct. How does it go, Chris Gates? How does he say it?
Yes. You are correct.
You are correct, sir. Probably no relation to Jim McMahon either.
No, maybe not. If he is, he's probably wearing that Roselle headband right now.
Well, I'm guessing we could probably throw Vince McMahon out there.
Throw him out there. Throw Vince McMahon out there too.
Yeah, Vince.
Kevin, if you're related to any of them, you probably qualify for a prize. But
see, here's the thing about the defensive overhaul and whatnot that Zimmer's tried to put together this past year. If you look at a lot of the guys they brought him in on 1-year deals. Patrick Peterson's here on a 1-year deal. Vigil's here on a 1-year deal. Xavier Woods is here on a 1-year deal. I think Tomlinson's in on a 2-year deal, but that's different. But
Pierce?
A lot of these guys, Pierce was signed. Yeah, Pierce signed a 3-year deal, so he's here for a couple of years yet.
But I thought he had an opt-out after the second year, and he like a void year, and then he opted out last year. So this is, I thought, maybe I'm wrong on that. I could be very wrong.
I think when you did the opt-out for COVID, like it kind of like he signed in 2020, and without the COVID opt out, he would have been signed through 2022. But then because of he did the opt out, that like pushed everything back a year. So I think he's here till 2023. But yeah, a lot of these guys are here on 1-year deals. I mean, even Weatherly, Everson Griffin, all these guys are here on 1-year deals. So if Mike, I don't know, Mike Zimmer had a feeling that this was going to kind of be his last rodeo potentially, and tried to get these guys to come in to give him a last minute like shot in the arm or whatever. But yeah, like you guys have said, this is the defense that Mike Zimmer wanted to put together. These are his guys. These are the guys that he went to Rick Spielman and said, hey, if our defense wants to get better, we need to bring these guys in here. And, it just hasn't happened.
No, go ahead. Go ahead, Drew.
All this being said, the defense, in my eyes, played a hell of a game, and they gave every opportunity for the team to win today. It's not today wasn't on the defense.
For the most part, I will agree. One thing we talked about on our weekly show, Drew, is how the Vikings needed to get the Browns in second and third and long.
When does that show come out every week? Remind me.
That'll be Fridays at 10 a.m. That's Vikings Report, Drew and Ted. Don't miss it right here on our YouTube channel. Friday mornings, 10 a.m. Central. We'll be there. Standing tall, looking good. Ought to be in Hollywood.
Attaboy, you don't miss any plug, baby.
But I thought the Browns did a very good job on first down, getting 4, 5, 6, 7 yards. And we said earlier in the week that if the Vikings could not make the Browns pass when they didn't want to pass,
right,
it would be a long day. And I thought Cleveland, they converted first downs and kept the clock going and kept drives alive a lot of times when it felt like the Vikings needed to make a big play and they just couldn't because their run defense is just not where it needs to be.
You know what, Ted? And it's 3rd and 20, and you give up a 30-yard freaking run to set up. I mean, come on. You cannot. You can't. See, it's that. It's that. It's Richardson calling the timeout. That's the pattern of crap that happens with a Zimmer team that loses games.
Key handful of plays.
Yep.
And I know when I do this, people are thinking a couple different things, but that's okay. But isn't it though? It's those few things that they do. It just makes you grab your head, Chris, and go, why do they do that? I mean,
yeah.
They had third and 11. They had it down on our 30. 3rd and 11. And I looked at Ruby and I said, screen to Hunt. It's coming right now. And they threw it and he got 15 yards. And I said, Jesus Christ, you can't see that coming?
No, you're right. It just, and then the thing, it felt like after that opening drive the Vikings offense had, that they seemed to go a little bit more conservative than they have been in the last week and even the week before in the Arizona game. Although they lost it, they seemed fairly aggressive in that game. They just, it felt like they realized, this is going to be a low-scoring game, so we really don't need to make a whole bunch of plays, until they realized they needed to make a bunch of plays, and then those plays got canceled by that Conklin penalty, or they just couldn't convert.
You guys give me your rundown on Kirk Cousins. I'll sit back and give me you guys a synopsis. Is that the right word? On Kirk Cousins today.
Go ahead, Chris.
I mean, that first drive was great. I mean, everything was clicking, everything was great. And, the Browns didn't get a lot of sacks today. I mean, they had like 9, I think it was, against Chicago last week, or just some ridiculous number. I think they only had 2 today, but it just seemed like the pressure was there like all the time. I mean, even like we said, that very last play of the game, the Browns rushed 3 guys and Kirk Cousins still had to kind of run for his life in order to get the damn ball out of his hands. So, yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, I know Cousins it has a propensity for holding on to the ball too long sometimes, but I think in this case, the offensive line, like Ted said at the top of the show, they looked really good for a couple of weeks there, and then this week they just soiled themselves in front of everybody, and it was terrible.
I will say I don't think the offensive line did Kirk any favors. However, there were plenty of plays when he dropped back and he stepped up or moved around in the pocket where he could have made a throw and he didn't. It once again, it sort of felt like once this game got close, as the game went on, he got tight or pensive or apprehensive. Amen. I don't know what the word, but it's like It's like the pissed off Kirk we talked about these last 3 weeks where he just said, F it, I'm going to let it rip and I'm going to make plays. That Kirk wasn't there today. It was the Kirk we saw in crunch time from 2018, 2019, and 2020. And look, you can complain about the offensive line all you want. Okay, cool. But when Kirk was using his feet last week and moving around in the pocket, he created time for himself to make plays. He didn't do that today. That's
great takes, guys. Great takes.
Yeah.
He looked, I used the word skittish earlier when I was watching it. Kirk gets into that skittish, and probably a better word, but I don't know if you noticed, I'm not that well versed on my vocabulary, but he seemed a little, I don't know, skittish. He seems like he starts freaking out before the pressure gets there. When he gets like that, it's not good.
Big Higgs says timid Kirk showed up today, and I agree. I think it was apprehensive. Timid's a good word. It wasn't the aggressive Kirk Cousins we have seen the last couple weeks, for sure.
No, it wasn't.
So
Big Hig, thank you for the comment.
We go
1-3, guys. Where does it go from here?
Well, I'll tell you what. I got a little. I'm kind of stealing Drew's tasty tidbits. Tasty tidbit segment here.
Tasty. That's how you say it. If you're gonna say it, do it right, man. Let's go. Sounds like the guy from Dukes of Hazzard, man. Okay.
Here's something for you guys. Now, last year was the first year the NFL went with 7 playoff teams per conference. Now, this year is a little bit different because they have 17 games and not 16. But this is how the playoff teams started off last year in terms of one-loss record to begin the season. No team started off 0-2. We talk about 0-2 being a big barometer for whether or not you make the playoffs. No team started 1-2. The Vikings started off 1-2 this year. The Saints started off 2-2. The Washington football team is the only playoff team that started off 1-3, but they won the NFC least with a 7-9 record. And I would argue nobody's going to win the NFC North with a 7-9 record this year.
No.
Are we in agreement there?
No,
Agreed.
Don't see that happening.
Okay.
Agreed.
So the rest of the playoff teams that made the postseason last year either started off 3-1 or 4-0. Again, minus the Saints who started off 2-2. So there we go.
Oh.
Can the Minnesota? So let me ask you this then, since you're all sitting there stupefied, like, oh my God, this is terrible. Can the Minnesota Vikings turn it around and make the playoffs, Chris?
It's going to be hard. I mean, I'm not even going to lie. Probably not.
Good.
I mean, I don't see it happening. I mean, sure, they might get healthy next week a little bit because Detroit's coming to town, but after that, they got a pretty rough stretch in the middle of the season schedule wise. And yeah, I'd love to be as optimistic as anybody, but I'm not seeing it.
If we were like sponsored by the Vikings right now, the corporate would be looking at me going, be careful how you answer this, Drew. Be careful what you say right here. Chris is right. It's probably not going to happen, but that's a tough thing about the Vikings. They play well enough to be in these games, and you feel like the defense, they held the Browns to 14 points. Why can't we win games, man? But it is a tough haul. We got some tough games coming up.
I'll tell you why we can't win games. I'll tell you exactly.
How are we going to dig out of a 1-3 hole? How are we going to dig out of it? What kind of shovel are you going to use to dig out of that hole when you got Carolina and you got all these divisional games coming up? It's going to be a haul, man.
I'll tell you what's going to happen. I mean, the Vikings, they should beat Detroit. I would hope. I mean, they got Carolina and Detroit before the break, before their bye. But I'll tell you why the Vikings can't win these close games. We talk about this every week. They do something incredibly stupid at the most inopportune time, 2, if not 3 times a game. And that goes back to what? Players being dumb, or coaching, or just a stupid play by a player?
All of the above, and at this point, isn't it a pattern, Chris? Isn't it a pattern at this point?
It is. It is a pattern, and I think you guys have mentioned this plenty of times before. When you have something that develops into a pattern like this, it's the coaching. It's got to be. I mean, that's the one thing that's consistent. I mean, you talk about 2018, 2019, 2020. The only consistent thing in that entire equation is the coaching. So, I mean, how do you get, yeah. It's weird how that happens.
You know, and if it's weird too, because I hear we need to play better. We're hearing that after every game the last 2 seasons. It's so frustrating. You got to be from a head coaching standpoint that Zimmer doesn't notice if I just eliminate these 3 or 4 bonehead plays like Ted Glover just talked about. Maybe we win a greater percentage of these close games. I mean, come on, man.
And now, from what Ruby's just passed along to us after the game, Mike Zimmer has said, "I'm not discouraged one bit about the lack of stopping the run today." He gave up the Vikings gave up 184 yards on the ground today. Nick Chubb had 100 yards. Kareem Hunt had 69 yards and a touchdown. Mayfield had 11 yards, and OBJ had 4 yards. I'm not discouraged one bit about the lack of stopping the run. Well, God damn it, you ought to be.
What an idiot. What a dumb thing to say. 179 yards, and they were grinding you out like the Tech Noir. I mean, come on, man.
Like a what?
like you ever see people grind at the Tech Noir, like you see Urban Meyer grinding on that chick at the club?
I did. Yeah.
He was grinding on her, man. Not that she wasn't grindable. I mean, come on, Urban.
I did.
How do you say that after what you just watched?
At least Urban could score a chick like that. Jim Harbaugh couldn't.
Woo! Both of our teams won yesterday. We'll mention that. Chris Gates, how can he say that? How can he say that at the press? How do you say that, Chris? Tell me. You're the one dialed into this team. You tell me how you can go to a press conference and say, "I'm not worried about how we stop the run." You didn't stop the run.
Don't look at me, dude. I don't know. I mean,
you didn't stop it. They got 180 freaking yards on the ground. They gassed your ass all day. Sure, they only scored 14 points, but they controlled a bunch of third down possessions by running the ball and running the short screen game. They killed you, dude.
I'm gonna say we're lucky that Baker Mayfield, for all the commercials and all the whatnot he gets, I'm not impressed. He's not very good. He completed less than half of his passes today. He went 15 for 33. When the opposing quarterback goes 15 for 33, you should win. That's just how it works. But when the other team runs for 184 yards and you can't stop them when you need to, no, then you lose.
Not worried about the run game.
You know, and Mayfield missed some wide open dudes that could have and he completed some of those passes. This game would not have been as close as it was.
No.
I mean,
asinine decisions, Ted. He made some horrible plays, man.
Early in the second half, he had a rollout, and I think it was his tight end out in the flat, which would have been a first down. And he tucks it, runs, and tries to do the Walter Payton leg kick. Like, I was literally laughing out loud. I'm like, go to one of his commercials right now. Because I couldn't laugh any harder if you'd done that. But Mayfield did not impress me at all.
Not at all. But we talk about Vikings report, the preview show. We know Cleveland's a good team. 7th ranked offense, 3rd ranked defense. What do we say on that show? The Vikings are going to need Cleveland to make some mistakes. What did Cleveland do? They made some mistakes. They left the door open. They made some mistakes. Got to win this game.
And yet they don't. And yet they don't. Because
how many times have we talked about that, Ted? How many times does that pattern continue? But yet we don't. But yet we don't. Oh, we got close. Oh, we're playing. Oh, we got close. We got close. Sick of being close. I want to win.
You know, if Super Bowls were judged on moral victories, the Vikings would have like 20 of them.
The Browns made enough mistakes for us in that game to win, Chris Gates. We should have won that game.
They certainly did. I mean, there was the one that the Vikings took away from themselves, and I hate blaming the officials for stuff, but that holding penalty on Kendricks that negated the 4th down stop that wound up leading to the touchdown. That was a garbage call. I don't understand that at all.
But the
It
personal
was.
foul on Kirk Cousins was garbage too. That wasn't a personal
It was.
foul.
Oh no, that wasn't roughing
No.
the passer at all. So it balanced itself out. But like I said, I'm not blaming the officials. The Vikings should have been in a position to win this football game, just based on how much Cleveland screwed up.
Yes, but why can't they do that? Why can't they convert, execute, and win these close games, guys? Tell me, why can't they?
Coaching. One word, coaching. When it comes right down to it, we've boiled this down to its purest essence time and time again. And it always comes back to coaching and team preparedness. And this team makes dumb shit decisions and plays. And I mean, that timeout by Richardson.
Oh,
come on, man. I mean, come on. Now does that affect the outcome of the game? You know, it would have been 13-7 versus 14-7, but it really mentally really changes, you know, going in tied or down by a point. I think that was just like a deflating thing. You know,
sure.
that holding call and then the 2-point conversion was just this mentally deflating thing. I felt it as a fan. And so you have to think that the team that is way more invested in this than we are as fans felt that a little bit more than we did. And it just seemed to, you know, and it's one of those things when adversity hits this team, they just seem to backpedal and crumble for a while. And I mean, that's a consistent theme under the Mike Zimmer era too. We saw it almost every single week last year. We saw it consistently in 2018, a good part of 2019, that whenever something bad happens to this team, whether it's a questionable call or a big conversion or play by the opposing offense or defense, this team just goes into a shell and just shrugs their shoulders and just kind of like gives up for a while. It's weird, man. It's just weird.
Hell, you can trace this back, and I hate to bring this up. You can trace this back, I think, to the 2017 NFC Championship game against the Eagles. If you remember that game, it was like today. The Vikings marched down the first drive, put 7 points on the board. They got a stop on Philadelphia on the first drive, and I think it was can't remember if it was the Vikings' second or third possession, but Case Keenum drops back, throws the pick six, and then from there it was just a stomping. And the early Zimmer teams, 2014, 2015, didn't have that problem, but ever since then, you know, it's like great warrior poet Mike Tyson once told everybody, is that everybody has a plan until they get punched in the mouth. And this team gets punched in the mouth, and all of a sudden they don't know what the hell they're doing anymore. I don't understand it. For a guy that styles himself and wants to put himself out there as such a tough and hard-nosed guy, his team's just, you know, at the first sign of adversity, it just all goes in the toilet. I don't know why that is. I don't get it.
It's a great take, man. That is great. Excellent job, guys, both of you.
A little follow-up to that, Zimmer, I'm not discouraged one bit about the lack of stopping the run. When asked why, he wasn't so worried about stopping the run, he said, "You guys worry so much about stats and not how things look and how they are."
It looked like ass.
I'm sorry, when the Browns are getting 5, 6, or 7 yards on first down, that is how it is. That's not good. It's not good at all. It just isn't.
Yeah, what do we have for total yards? The Vikings were 200 yards less than their average, Ted. 227 yards. They averaged 425. And we knew the yardage was going to be less, but I didn't think it was going to be that much less. 225 for a modern NFL team isn't very good. So that was his answer to it. That was his rebuttal statement. He's better off just not even having the press conference. Just don't talk at those things.
Yep.
You know,
we need to play better. Did that come out?
I don't know. I have no idea.
I mean, saying about people are being concerned about stats, about what it looked like. I mean, we watched the game. It looked terrible. it looked bad. I mean, like you said, every time, you know, like you said, there's guys cranking out 5, 6 yards a carry, and I mean, it's not just about the stats. I mean, you know, I don't get it. I don't
Did
understand it.
it look just as bad as the stats? I mean,
Yeah, they damn sure did. But they're. I don't know what the per carry average for the.
I got that information right here, Christopher Gates. Rushing yards per rush, 5.0 for the Browns. We had 2.8. We had 2.8. You could probably hinge a lot of the game on just that right there. The fact that we only had 60 yards rushing the football and they outrushed us. I go with what Ted said. I mean, you rush for 180 yards, you're only putting up 14 points. You got to lay that on your quarterback. Mayfield he's not impressive to me at all.
No, he was. He did not have a good game. And the thing was, Kirk and the Vikings played down to the level of play that was on the field. They didn't, after that first drive, I thought this is going to be a really good game. And they, like we said earlier, they just sort of went into this shell and got all conservative and
Ted.
Yeah.
Some of those 3 and outs are just horribly painful.
Brutal.
Up the middle for a yard. Up the middle for -1, 3rd and 11, incomplete. It's like you don't even have the football at all. It's like it's like In-N-Out Burger. It's like what the hell? That's just like, okay. They had a stat that they showed. Kirk Cousins at one point had 59 yards passing on the first drive, and they showed the stat in the fourth quarter. They said since then he's had 80. So you got 21 yards more than you got 80 the rest of the game. He had 59 on that first drive. I mean, are they just game planning or scripting the plays for the first drive? What are they doing?
How'd that look, Zim? You tell me. How'd that look to you? Good?
Don't look at the stats.
And the other one, it goes back to one thing we talked about already. The Vikings possession after the 2-minute warning went incomplete, 2-yard pass where the receiver goes out of bounds, and incomplete pass. Terrible. And then you give the ball back. It was awful. I don't understand it. I don't get it.
What are some of the viewers that are watching the show? What's the general temperature of the room? What is everybody kind of saying?
Trying to keep up. It's a lot on Zimmer.
Okay. I'm just kind of wondering. I like to hear from our viewers, see their point of view.
It's frustrated with Zimmer, frustrated with the comment, frustrated with the Vikings in general. It's every time from Dan Henneman, every time the offense started to get things going, a penalty killed a drive. GMAX 72, script all the drives, then problem solved.
GMAC. Hey, you put GMAC in there, man. Give him the payroll. Give him on the payroll.
Yeah, it's just 1-3. I mean, it's going to be a tough hole to crawl out of, and I don't see the Vikings doing it. When you look at how they've played the first 4 games, it's if you try and tell me that this is a playoff team, I'm not going to agree with you right now because they're not. They make too many mistakes at too many critical moments in the game to make me think that they can take this 1-3 record and turn it around and get to 10 wins at this point.
But that's the thing, Ted, with this team. That's the frustration. You always say in the back of your head, if they didn't make these critical mistakes, they'd be a playoff team. That's what's frustrating about watching the Vikings. You don't know what they are.
Yeah.
You don't know because, take away the mistakes in all these games. That's what's frustrating about it. They're not out there losing 52-0, so you know what you're looking at. So how do you make heads or tails of that, man?
Well, Chris, what do you think? How do you make heads or tails of this team right now?
I mean, like Drew said, we keep saying to ourselves, if they didn't just make these mistakes and whatever, blah, 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 they'd be a playoff team. But that's the other thing, in the back of your head is that, they're going to make the mistakes.
Right.
And so it cancels itself out. I mean, we can try to be optimistic. I mean, we know this team has a ton of talent on it, but like Drew keeps saying, there's always those 1 or 2 things every game that they do that just make you scratch your head and go, what the hell are you guys doing out there? And it winds up costing them football games. So it's tough to get too high or too low anymore for me with this team because, just when you get excited, they're going to do something stupid to shoot themselves in the foot. And I can't really add anything else to that. But yeah, it's going to be tough. Can they? Yeah. Will they? Probably not.
Dan Lee, a playoff team. I just missed it. A playoff team wins more games when the games are close. Amen, brother. Amen.
That's right.
Good teams win these games, and I'm just going to say it. Minnesota's not a good team. A good team would not have lost 14-7 to the Browns after the Browns made so many bad plays by Baker Mayfield. I mean, they just left so many plays on the field that you would think the Vikings should have taken advantage of it. A good team just goes down and kicks that field goal and wins the game against Arizona, but a good team wouldn't let it get to that in the first place. A good team doesn't go to overtime with a team like the Cincinnati Bengals. I'm sorry, they just don't. They're not a good team right now. They just aren't.
No.
Ted and Chris, I'll ask you both. Does Mike Zimmer he just doesn't have the killer instinct, does he?
No, I don't think so at all.
Not anymore.
Oh, not anymore. Okay, that's good. Yeah, not anymore. No.
It doesn't seem like he does. Or he doesn't instill that in his players.
No.
No, I mean you look at the best coaches in the NFL, and you look at the guys like Andy Reid and whatnot, and when the Chiefs have a lead on somebody, they stand on their throats and go out and win the football game. And we don't do that. We just don't.
Now, Ted and I watch it every week with our college teams. Yesterday, Harbaugh was up 21 points with 4 minutes left, and he threw a 50-yard bomb. Quarterback was passing. And like Ruby said, good. That's what you're supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? Ruby Toonsis is right. You play the game out. If they can't stop you, that's their problem. And I don't think the Vikings don't have any of that.
Two more really good comments again from Kevin. Mistakes come down to coaching and decision-making to put players that don't make mistakes and to put in mistakes come down to coaching and decision-making to put in players that don't make mistakes. 100% agree with that. And then Craig Williams says, hey, the Vikings have the same record as the Jets, who beat Tennessee in overtime. Same record as the Jets, Dolphins, Texans, Colts, Eagles, Giants, and Falcons, with a highly paid quarterback and a hand-picked defense.
Yeah, we get some good comments, don't we, Ted?
Yeah. So
good comments, Roland. Good job, everybody. We got some smart fans. I love it, man. Good job.
There you go. So, we've been going on about an hour. We probably should start wrapping this up. So the Minnesota Vikings fall to 1-3. We told you about the records for teams getting to playoffs. We broke this game down. Who do we got next week, boys?
Detroit.
I was hoping it would be Rutgers. What about Ohio State just pouring the coals to Rutgers?
That team's a slump buster, aren't they? At least, unless you're Michigan, where you only beat them by 7.
No, but we kicked Wisconsin's ass. That makes up for the slump busting.
So
a win's a win, Ted. Even if it's hanging off the ass of a cow, a win is a win.
You're exactly right. A win is a win. They got Detroit, and then they're at Carolina, and then the bye. What?
Oh.
Well, let me ask this final question, and then we'll wrap things up. The Vikings go, let's just say worst case scenario, go 0-2, lose to the Lions, they played some pretty good football. They just, they've had some bad luck with that game last week. They lose to Detroit and Carolina going into the break, and we find ourselves 1-5 like we did last year. What do you see happening at the bye, Chris?
Okay, I'm going to completely contradict myself because about 20 minutes ago I just said that I don't think you can see you. I don't think you can see him firing.
For this show.
Yeah, sweet. But like 20 minutes ago I said I can't see him firing Mike Zimmer in season. I think if you go into the bye at 1-5, it's definitely on the table. I mean, they went 1-5 last year and everyone survived, but then they had all the excuses or whatever. And like Drew keeps saying, there's no excuses this year. You got everything you wanted in the offseason. You've gotten, you built what you wanted to build. You told the general manager that this is going to help get us back to the promised land. And at 1-5, it's not happening. So I would be mildly surprised if it came down to that at the bye week if they were 1-5, but it wouldn't be quite as surprising as it probably could be, I guess, if that makes any sense.
Drew, does Zim get fired if the Vikings go into the bye at 1-5?
No, Zimmer's not getting fired midseason. I figured that out last year when a winless Falcons team came in here week 4 or 5. They haven't won a game all season, and we got our tits licked by them by 20. We lost to them by 20 points. If he doesn't get fired after that, when a winless team comes into your house and beats you down like that, he's not going to get fired at 1-5, 1-6, 1-8. The Wilfs ride it out. The Wilfs, they kind of go with what Spielman tells them. You know, Spielman, things are going, we're right on the cusp. Things are going well. We just got to do this, and we'll be fine. He's not getting fired midseason.
All right. Well, folks, thanks for joining us. I hope this has become like a Lucy on the Peanuts therapy session for you guys. Send your 5 cents to Ruby at Vikings Report with Drew and Ted at gmail.com. Chris, take us out of here with some parting thoughts, then Drew.
I mean, yeah, this was a rough game. This is a game the Vikings should have won. It was a game they had every opportunity to win. And like you said, they just made those standard Vikings 2 or 3 stupid mistakes that were the difference between winning and losing. And yeah, I mean, you are what your record says you are, and it says the Vikings are a 1-3 football team right now. So yeah, you really can't say anything else beyond that.
Nope, sure can't. Drew?
I heard Michael Irvin a couple days ago talk about when he first got to Dallas, how terrible they were. And they were losing game after game after game. And he came from Miami, where they didn't lose a lot of games in college at the U. And he told a story about losing like the 5th, 6th game, pounding a locker and yelling in the locker room how frustrated he was. And somebody coming up to him and saying, hey, man, chill out, mellow out. Just go get your paycheck on Tuesday. And Michael Irvin said, that's when I knew players on this team had to go. And the coaching staff was, you know what I'm saying? That really, I don't know why it stuck in my head, but it made me start thinking of, there's a difference of just getting a paycheck. And, a lot of the Vikings is Zimmer. Well, we came close. The running game, we came close this week, but we didn't get it done. On and on and on. It's not stopping. It's a pattern. And how long is that going to be acceptable that we almost did good? We almost won. It just seems like the gloom is there, Ted. It's gloom.
To me, the I'm not discouraged one bit about the lack of stopping the run is just a damning statement. I mean, if I'm a head coach and I see, Michael Pearson, Dalvin Tomlinson, the guys I brought in, and then a healthy Danielle Hunter, and then Everson Griffin playing a lot more than he has been, giving up 5 and 6 yards a crack with Eric Kendricks and Nick Vigil back there, I'm furious. I'm not gonna. I might say something, but I'm not gonna say that. I mean, how many yards did they give up rushing today?
179. 184.
184. Yeah. I mean, how can you not be discouraged about that? My God.
But not being discouraged, isn't that kind of like, just go get your paycheck on Tuesday?
That's the exact mentality. That is the exact mentality.
That's why I brought that up. It seems like there's a lot of that running rampant. Rampart.
Maybe Zim should just go get his paycheck and then get some hookers and blow and do them off a hooker's belly like Irvin used to do, and get this team to 15-1 and win a couple Super Bowls. I don't know.
On
Maybe.
that note,
we gotta get somebody to make an incredibly stupid trade with us in order to.
We gotta get on the winning team. Ted Glover, dude, what a way to end the show.
Jeez.
All right. I'm sweating cold cuts. I don't know anything about hookers and blow. I want to go on record as knowing that.
All right, 1-3. Thanks for joining us, everybody who did. We really appreciate it. We're not really great about interacting with comments. I try. Ruby tries, but it's just kind of a fast-moving show, and there's a big delay between what we're saying and what's coming out on the screen. Is about a 30-second delay. Don't forget, catch us Friday, 10 a.m. Central Time for our next episode of Vikings Report with Drew and Ted, and then next Sunday, win, lose, or tie, we will be back here with Vikings Report Rewind at the conclusion of the Vikings and Detroit game. We'll try to do better the next time.
The only
That,
game I
that sums
predicted,
it
the
up.
only game I predicted wrong so far was that Bengals game, Ted.
Yeah, you're right. I'm 0-4, I think it is in my predictions this year.
You better put something in that